All right. So I think since we're talking about relevant things and things that are super cool, we're going to talk the first four episodes of Stranger Things just a little bit. But um, we're going to kick off with Wicked for Good, which is the second half of the Wicked musical slash film, which is a great thing to pick up on because we were talking about musicals last week a little bit, and I've seen some really kind of differing views on this, so I'm really curious about what you think of this one. So tell us about Wicked for Good.
Yeah, so went with my crew. There were like at least 8 to 10 of us that went last Saturday night. As expected, the marketing for this has been very good. And upon walking into the theater, Kips Bay, Andrew, AMC, where we went, they had the whole, you know, picture ops where you can go in and take photos. So we did that before taking our seats, which was really nice. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I had forgotten so much about the play itself or
Hmm.
in the musical and in terms of just the storyline, where given that it was about 20 years, because I remember seeing it in early high school, I think it initially hit, I want to say what, 2005, 2006, because it
Hmm.
recently hit its 30-year mark. But it had been,
20.
sorry, 20-year mark.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I was
Yeah, not 30, 20. But nonetheless, yeah, I had forgotten the end. So rewatching that and watching it in movie form, I appreciated it, knowing, okay, remind me because it does weave in the Wizard of Oz story. You
Mhm.
get to see Dorothy. You don't see her full face, but you see the back of Dorothy. You see her go on her journey with the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, but it's how did that come to be? And
Mhm.
that's what the second half tells. And at that point, I mean, at the end of the first film with Defying Gravity, you know that there is a rift at this point where Glinda chooses to stay with Ozians and to, I don't want to say pick the side, but she doesn't go with Elphaba because remember, she's like, come with me, think of what we could do together. And she doesn't. So they separate, but they still have, this fondness and respect for one another to some degree. And in the second film, it sets it up where Fiyero and Galinda are to be engaged, or they're to be wed, and they're engaged at this point. And you can tell Fiyero is very protective over Elphaba. The thing that I think for a lot of people, which I can understand, that romance between them, it's really not something that they delve too much into. And from what I recall from the show as well, because they have that song, As Long as You're Mine, where they're both alone and embracing one another. And I think a lot of people have a hard time believing that this beautiful man can fall in love with someone like Elphaba. They made fun of, so in the musical, I can't remember how they set it up because remember it's like first of all it was 20 almost 20 years ago when I saw it. And I mean, it was on stage, whereas in the movie, they're in this, I don't know, in the woods or something like that, embracing, and, they lead you to believe that they like make love and whatnot. And she's wearing this like grandma cardigan. So then there's all these memes online about the sexy cardigan that she wears because she's normally in her black outfit, but she's in some form of like lingerie and like this really tattered looking gray cardigan, but that, as people were saying, that's her sex cardigan. So people were making fun and poking fun at that, which was, kind of funny, but whatever. But, I thought they did a beautiful job at singing, and I thought the songs just they brought back so many memories for me when I first came across the soundtrack
Mhm.
from 20 years ago. Granted, like it was Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, now Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey and Cynthia Erivo, but their voices are fantastic.
Mhm.
The first film is definitely better, no question. There isn't a question about it. And I think some of the most major and memorable songs are in the first half of the film. However, I think the second job or the second act really tells a good story and really explains how the Wizard of Oz and just the interweaving of these stories. and how this came to be and how Elphaba's story overlaps with Dorothy's story. And it answers a lot of these questions that you wonder about from the first film. So I think some people had some issues with the romance and also just how it ended. I appreciated it. I liked it. I forgot a lot about it. How did the Tin Man become the Tin Man? Who was he originally? Who was the Cowardly Lion? And some other pieces that, are not answered until most of the second half of the second film. So, yeah, I mean, it's regardless, it's magical. I think Andrew, you said almost a year ago when we watched this film, it's a feast for the eyes. And it really is a feast for the eyes. This is why people come to see Wicked. It is probably the best show that they can adapt or from stage to movie. Truly, they can do so much with this, and they did a fantastic job. As we know, casting is impeccable with who they cast in this film. And if anything, it really just elevated John Chu's just reputation as a director with this.
Yeah, he definitely had a vision, I think, and pulled it off pretty well. I mean, on um was it Hulu? It might have been Hulu or Disney Plus, but they had a um
Peacock. It was
it was a
Peacock.
Peacock. That's right. That's right. And it's sort of a making of kind of thing.
Yep.
And you really got to see what John Chu
Had envisioned for
he
this.
had a vision for and how well they, brought that about. It was really impressive. I
Sure.
think it's funny that they actually made a big deal about casting Dorothy, and then to not see her face at all is really weird. Like it's a really weird thing for them to get super excited about.
But I understand why they did it because this isn't about her.
Oh no,
It's
yeah, 100%. I just don't know why it was a big deal with the casting. You really could have cast anybody if you weren't going to show her face.
true. True. Yeah, I mean, you see the back of her. You don't see the front of her until if you like do your research and they show photos, but you just see the back of her. And also, they didn't make the shoes red. That was my pet peeve. They were silver. Why not red? That's the point. But
Hmm.
I mean, as you recall, I'm sure you recall, Nessa Rose dies. The house where Dorothy was from Oklahoma,
I think so, yeah. No,
lands
Kansas,
lands on her.
Kansas,
Kansas, you're
Kansas.
right.
Yeah,
Duh.
we're not.
Kansas, yes. We're not in Kansas anymore. Nonetheless, yeah, the house lands on her. You don't see, they don't show the shoes. Like they don't show the class. That I think that was a little weird too, because you're used to seeing the black and white stockings and the shoes from underneath. They didn't show anything. It was just, oh, she died. And then the shoes automatically just go on to Dorothy and she's on her merry way.
Hmm.
That's a little, I don't know. I think they could have definitely done more with that, but maybe they were trying to make it more kid friendly. Who knows? But it was still good. Oh, there's one scene where they go fist to fist, which I thought was pretty funny. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, but it's hysterical because we know Ariana Grande has no magical powers, and they explain. I thought this was cool. They explained the point. The bubble that she's in, like in the first film, and in the bubble that she travels in. They show in the second film, which I thought was cool, Michelle Yeoh, her character, Madame Marble, goes into, yeah, we got you this bubble. This is like a gift from the wizard and the city. This will be your form of transportation. And she gets to experiment with it. And it's cool seeing that in full form in the story of how she got her mode of transportation being the bubble. So that was cool.
Yeah, I think for me, I know that the first half, the first act, um, really does have the better musical numbers or the more exciting musical numbers generally. But for me, like when I walked away from this, somehow I had managed to know squat about Wicked for 20 years, right? So when I took my daughter to see it, and we went to see it on Broadway. Um, the way it ends and the way we actually see the people become the Tin Man and and the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion and all this um was really cool. And then to see that, even through the Wizard of Oz, through the whole movie that we know, Elphaba's not actually bad.
Correct.
Like, it's we're getting a different side of the story, but it's still the same story. It's just from a completely different angle with
Yeah,
information you don't have in there, which is funny because I think we're going to talk about that with Stranger Things too, and prequels. But yeah, it's just funny um, that all that stuff exists, and like I said, I hadn't heard any of it, so it was definitely really exciting to kind of learn that going into the show, and it sounds like they at least did a good job with that. All of the complaints that I saw, like, were complaining about how like politically charged it was,
sure.
and did
Yeah,
they change something, or is it just coincidence that the story happens to be politically charged in today's climate?
correct. I think it's more about politics now than people realized when it first came out. Because there wasn't as much, in my opinion. I mean, it came out what in 2005, 2006. People weren't as divisive then as they are now. So having that, I mean, the political part is more about, the animals and of course herself as an Elphaba being green, right? I don't know if the dialogue in the musical delves into that much. They probably lean into it heavier in the show, excuse me, in the movie than they do in the show, 100%. But I also think because of where we are as a nation right now, it can be perceived as significant, well, even more so political and divisive than it was back then, for sure. I didn't remember, and I think we talked about this, the animal theme as much in the show.
I feel like we did when we talked about the first one, but I don't remember.
But I didn't remember the conflict with the animals like from the Broadway show. Granted, I was in early high school, so maybe I didn't pick up on it, but I didn't remember that part. And then seeing the movie, that is a huge driver for why Elphaba is so angry and in many cases goes head to head and challenges the wizard. I don't remember that. I didn't remember that from the musical, and I'm sure they covered it, but again, had been 20 years. But that again is part of the politics or a larger theme that plays into, oh, well, why are people questioning this to be political? It's a morality issue more than anything else, and that's what I think is brought up in the movie and how all of these animals are pretty much driven out of Oz and to go elsewhere.
Hmm.
And I mean, that can be compared to what's going on in Israel, Israeli-Palestinian conflict, right? Like that's real. Yeah, as well as, race in general, that's something as well that can be covered. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of these themes that may have been perceived as more of a micro thing in 2005, 2006, whenever I saw it, maybe it was 2007. I know it was like around that time, but I definitely didn't pick up on it. A, because I was younger, and B, because I mean, look at our political climate now versus then. Very different. So,
Yeah.
but I can see why people are calling it, oh, very political. I also feel like it wasn't any more political in the second film as it was in the first film. It's covering the same issues again,
Hmm.
personally.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Andrew.
yeah, no, I was looking. I mean, I'm just comparing right now, look at the Rotten Tomatoes. The audience is loving it. I mean, it was 95% for the first film, it's 94% for the second film. However, with the critics, they absolutely see a difference between the first and second films. The critics gave it an 88% for the first film, only a 65%, 67 now, for the second film. So I don't know what their deal was.
The beef is, yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm curious. I will say I will probably wait for streaming for this. The other thing that surprised me, but I know it's the current kind of film situation, was like when I went to check the box office for the first film, I was expecting to see a Billy, but it was like like high 700 millions. And this one's I think 300 million so far. So we'll see how it does. But at least it's on
I think
track, I think, to
yeah,
make its money back.
it's 100% making its money back. I think most of the and you guys said this, but most of the songs that we know associated with Wicked are in the first film.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All the hardcore Wicked fans, they went to see the second film. I think a lot of the first film was more of the ooh and ah and hun, come with me. This is what everyone's talking about type of thing. It was so different, especially for those that don't go to theater or haven't seen Wicked. It was this magical story, and they put a lot into the marketing of this ahead of time. So people were influenced to go. Whereas not that they weren't this time, but if you really didn't like the first one, I think the likelihood of you seeing it, and even you, Andrew, you saw it in theaters, you're waiting for this to go to streaming. Why?
Well, I think because I mean, well, I'm not the target audience, so I was, basically just like we're going to talk about this other film, Breadcrumb, Champagne Problems.
Sure.
I'm not the target audience, number one, and number two, yeah, like it's just actually that's really the only answer to give. I'm not the target audience, so it wasn't trying to go after me anyway.
Sure.
Um, yeah,
But you did enjoy the first one.
yeah, it was
Surprisingly.
good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I really liked it. Well, I liked the play or the musical. But when the movie came out, I didn't catch it in the theater either, you know. And I would say I'm more of the target audience than Andrew is. Like I did, I did music and I did theater and I did all this. So, it really is something that historically is my kind of jam. But yeah, I just didn't really feel the need to rush out and see it. Which is weird because I mean, really, it's visually very exciting. Like I think it
Correct.
probably really does look amazing on the big screen. Um, but I always make the argument in these cases. I have an 80-inch TV at home and I've got six speaker surround sound. As- like I'm fine if I see it at home. Like it's not going to hurt me. Um, but yeah, it's just it's interesting. I'll be really curious to see how much. How much it makes, by the time its run is over. Because I mean, it's going to be one of the highest grossing musicals of all time when you look at, um, both movies, especially both movies together. But what was the runtime on this one?
2 hours and 18 minutes.
Hmm. So that means, like the overall, if you watched them both, I mean, you're looking at,
More than the actual show.
oh yeah,
Correct.
you're looking at four, almost five
Yeah.
hours. Like that was the
Correct.
thing is like it had been long
They're
enough.
both very long. Yep.
Yeah, it had been long enough that I didn't notice what was different,
Sure.
So I don't know what they added to make it that long. Um,
There's a little bit of dialogue in all these, but
for
again,
sure.
I also have not seen the musical. Now I'm tempted to see the musical again just to compare notes because it had been close to 20 years. I don't remember a lot of what happened, particularly in the second half. I know the
Y-
songs. I don't remember the storyline, especially with the end. I had to have that refresher, and I purposely went into the movie not doing research of, oh, who turns into who and what
Yeah,
happens to Elphaba. I wanted to be surprised again. And then when it happened, that's when the light bulb went off, like, oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah. I yeah, I was going to say something and I lost it. Um, but
Well, while you're thinking about that, I just got curious and was reading up on the highest grossing musicals films, right? And I was surprised for both. It looks like The Lion King topped both the theater and films, which to me was a pleasant surprise. Lion King's number one, Frozen 2 is number two, Frozen's number three, Beauty and the Beast number four, Moana 2 number five, which kind of it brought out a little bit of the critique in me. It's kind of like typically I feel like if a movie's good, that halo effect is supposed to help the sequel. For example, Infinity War kicked so much ass that Endgame was just
Right.
stratospheric for even in records. Off the Wall kicked so much ass that Thriller became the big album. And even like Captain Marvel benefited from Infinity War because it made
mhm.
$1 billion. So to me, yeah, that's a little weird that Wicked 2 isn't doing as good as the first one because typically, if your first film's great, people want to see the end. So yeah, that's just something to be analyzed, and maybe it's the marketing, who knows?
So
Um,
you're saying the opening weekends were
No, not opening. I'm not even talking about opening weekend. I'm talking about just performance in general. Like, yeah, Wicked 2, we'll see what happens. Like in the end, we can't really compare the first and second one because the run's not finished yet. But if for some reason the second film doesn't outperform the first film, that's a bit of an anomaly because typically the sequel does better than the original because of that halo effect of the sequel. I mean,
Well,
of the original.
for opening weekend, it looks like the new one actually did better.
Okay,
147 million opening, 112 opening for Wicked.
good.
Um, Now I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll definitely see. The thing will be, the overall performance will be
Yes.
what makes it or breaks it, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw something your way, guys. My dad used to give me this trivia question, or he gives people this trivia question every year, and I find this fascinating. So last night, I was home visiting my family in Rockland County, and the trivia question that my dad asks, and I'm going to probably botch this, so sorry, Dad, but he went to college. He graduated high school in 1974. He was in college figure 75, 76, that time, right? And he mentioned that in college, everyone would, in the dorms, gather around the television to watch The Wizard of Oz right before Thanksgiving break.
Hmm.
And everyone was always trying to catch it. And I guess I won't tell the question, but essentially Wizard of Oz was only played once a year and it was always around Thanksgiving. And if you didn't catch it on television prior to Thanksgiving, you'd have to wait again until next year because this is before, at least in the 70s, they didn't have streaming, they didn't have a way like
All
this is
broadcast. Yeah. Mhm.
correct. So my
We
dad,
remember.
what?
So we remember. Me and Kevin
So
remember.
my thoughts are it's interesting how Wicked came out around the same time. I wonder if there's a connection why the past 2 years they had it release around Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, interesting indeed. Yeah,
So, but that was the thing. So I came home this weekend and what did my mom have on the television?
Wizard
Wizard
of
of
Oz.
Oz.
Nice.
So they play it. And my dad always said, why is it that we would watch The Wizard of Oz always around Thanksgiving and what was the significance of that? And he says that only like not that his demographic and earlier knew that we only were able to catch it once a year because it was only shown around Thanksgiving. Otherwise, you had to wait till the next year to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember traveling when I was a kid. I don't remember where we were going, but it was like the big thing to watch. And I would have sworn it was Christmas, but it could have been Thanksgiving. Um, and yeah, it was like it's on and you can watch it, but you're not going to see it again until, the following year. But
Yeah.
yeah, cool. So I mean, knowing what you know about the two, it sounds like you would recommend, especially if you've seen the first one, to go see the second one in the theater.
Absolutely. Why
Okay.
not?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have nothing to do and you're with your family, and if you enjoyed the first one, why not see the second one? But I also understand your argument. If you have a big
I'm not
television,
opposed to seeing it in the theater. I'm just saying if there's an opening, like sure, I won't say no to it. It's just
sure,
I'm not like, oh my God, I have to go see it,
top of your list.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's a matter of convenience, right? Like I just getting to the theater is not as easy for me as it used to be. It's a lot further away. It takes a lot of time. And like I don't have a problem going to the movies by myself. I just don't do it very often. And so if I'm not taking my kids, like if they're not excited about it, then I'm probably not going to go see it, you know. Like I said, I'll catch it the day it hits Peacock and watch it, beginning to end. But for me to see in the theater, I've got to have like a group of people to go see it with.
Yeah. Andrew, when you saw it last year, were you in California or did you see it in Vegas?
California.
Okay. And you spent Thanksgiving in California again this year.
No, I spent it here.
Not to hear.
Mhm.
I'm also curious because, like, Stranger Things also came out a couple days ago. I'm wondering what was out last year? Was it just Wicked? Did it have much competition compared to right now? I don't know. I'm just thinking in terms of what is out there now where maybe people aren't as tempted to go see it.
Well, again, I think, Kevin pointed out that the box office, or at least, well, opening weekend, was that this past weekend? And, no, it
No,
wasn't. It
the
wasn't.
weekend before.
All
Yeah.
right. But no, I do think Stranger Things absolutely
Took away.
hurt any movies in the theater this weekend, because that was that was it. I mean, Netflix, this could be a good like transition, but Netflix legitimately had a 5 minute like shutdown apparently for some people. Man, and I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I feel like I called it, man. I said like, and Kevin never denied it, but I'm just saying straight, this is going to be the biggest show of the year.
Yeah.
And it's delivering. I've been ready since 2022 for this final
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. So we're going to eat up this transition and just go into Stranger Things.
Go for it.
But, uh, but yeah. So actually, before we start talking about this new season, um, I was talking to, I think we were talking to Jen, and it came up about there's a play called Stranger Things, the first
First
shadow.
shadow.
And it is, you know, it's a prequel to Stranger Things, but the thing that's really interesting and almost disappointing is that it's almost a required watch to really understand what's happening in season five. Um, it it tells the story of Henry Creel, and even more than that, tells a broader story that predates Henry Creel, um, and really kind of throws into question some things that we saw in season four,
Mm-hmm.
and makes Henry the unreliable narrator,
Mm-hmm.
and potentially sets up something that I think anybody that hasn't seen the play is not ready for at all. And I think it's really fascinating. So really quick. Number one, if you're interested in seeing the play,
Please.
skip for a couple minutes. Um, but the gist of the play is that we have an opening scene, which is based on the Philadelphia Project. So when the Duffers wrote Stranger Things, they had two things in mind. They had the Philadelphia Project, but when they were studying, no, they did a report in high school on the Philadelphia Project, and that led them to the Montauk Project, which was if I'm not mistaken, was a remote viewing project. Right? They were trying to prove that you could use remote viewing in um, um, like a military setting. So, anyways, so I mean that's kind of what Stranger Things was, right? Like when we see that in the first season, they're literally using 11 to remote view. But anyways, so we have this opening scene of the play that is basically the Philadelphia Project, where they're trying to use a bunch of energy to make a battleship invisible. Like that's the goal. And so they try and do this, but all the energy rips a hole and sends this boat into what
Dimension
if you read up
X.
on it, it's called Dimension X, and I
Yes.
don't
I
recall
love
it
that.
being called that during in the
Never.
show.
No, no, no.
Um, but that's where where Henry gets sent by L in what we see in the flashbacks of season four. It's not the upside down; it's different place. And so um, that boat gets sent to Dimension X. Basically, only one person survives, and that person happens to be the father of Dr. Brennan, who is our big bad in the rest of the series before Vecna and all that. So we flash forward now to we've got a kid, Henry, who we see them moving into their new house in Hawkins. Ultimately, we find out through the story is that at some point, um, Henry and his family, the Creels, lived in the same location that Brennan was doing testing. And
Brennan.
what's
Brenner.
that?
Brenner. Sorry.
What did I say?
Doctor, you said Brennan. Brenner.
Oh, yeah,
Same.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Brenner.
Brenner.
Um, and so they go. or he's off screwing around in the caves, and he finds something that sends him to Dimension X. And in Dimension X, the Mind Flayer is already there.
Yeah.
And what we've seen in the show in season four, at least from what Henry thought, he thought he created the Mind Flayer in season four. Um, and so the rest of the play, I'm not to go too far into it, but it deals a lot with Henry, the things that Henry did in season four as a child, but it adds this dimension where he wasn't in control of it. In his story, he thinks he's in control of it, at least the one we've seen. But the play very explicitly shows the mind flayer controlling him, the mind flayer as we've seen it. Um, and so he does kill his parents. Brenner to me is a lot more psycho in the play. Like he actually like really pushes Henry to murder people
Yes.
because he believes that that's where he's getting like that's how he's filling his battery. That's how he's getting more powerful. Um, to the point in the play he's trying to get it basically to get him to kill somebody on death row. The person's going to die anyways. He's like, just do it. Just do like, and he goads him really hard. Um, but when Henry is in school, he's in school with basically the parents or the characters of everyone we know, right? So we Lonnie, her Joyce's, you know, baby daddy is there. We see Hopper when he's young. We see the kids' parents. You know, we see a lot of people here, but there's a new character named Patty that Henry, you know, in fact, as much as you can at 14, falls in love with. Um, and she knows that he has powers, and so she, you know, tries to point him in the direction of doing good, which obviously ultimately fails. He hurts her at the end, near the end of the play, and he thinks she's dead. A lot of people do, and then at the end we see her finally going to meet her mom. So like she reaps the benefits of the good parts of what Henry did by finding her mom and going to see her. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I mean, it's a really interesting show. I mean, you read it, you didn't watch it, but like, do you have any takeaways just from reading that?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely, okay, first of all, and I remember thinking this even back in season four. Um, I I struggled with the idea of Vecna creating the Mind Flayer, and I still was a little confused by it, believe it or not, when I saw his narrative. Like it almost felt like, if anything, the Mind Flayer kind of created him, even though that's not what he said on screen. Like I kind of saw the Mind Flayer as this like primordial, ancient, like almost elemental being that like gave him his power. So when I'm reading this and I'm hearing things about contradicting, and I even went online and saw all the contradictions, I immediately went to, oh yeah, unreliable narrator. It's like
Mm,
I think, he's actually being instructed in a way or influenced to say what he's saying to Holly, and that's not actually what really truly happened. I love when you've got historical fiction. So the whole idea of, as soon as I saw USS Eldridge, oh my dude, it's like I got chills, and I'm like Philadelphia Experiment. I heard about all that stuff. I heard that like they say it's a myth, but when the ship did reappear from the dimension it went to, there were like sailors like fused to the hull. It was just total gore and chaos. So I love when you bring real history into, or fictional, whatever you call it, outside stuff into your
yeah,
universe. I for me, he's seeing Bob
yeah,
Newby, being in the play was also really cool. Joyce Maldonado, of course, is Joyce
yeah,
Byers, and Hopper. Seeing Bob, Hopper, and Joyce all kind of like being their initial mystery group, like investigating the dead animals, I thought was really cool. I think some of the ages I think were kind of changed a little bit, and I ended up leaving this prequel and then comparing it to what's happening with Will now, is maybe this is just another take on the whole like Vader Luke situation, because if the Mind Flayer really is the Emperor in all of this, and and maybe there is some redemption in what's his name in Henry, because Henry like was scared of the cave, like in season 4, not to jump around. Like I tend to be the kind of person who doesn't pick things apart. I tend to be open, and I tend to kind of add things, and I'm okay with things being inconsistent because maybe there's some sort of explanation that we can just like smooth it all out over. But I
Mhm.
do like the idea of them expanding the lore. But it's uncool that I don't feel like this was really publicized enough. They should have
Yeah.
been publicizing this a lot more, like during the
Yeah,
summer.
I felt like when it came out, it felt like it was like a novelty thing. Like they were like Stranger Things on Broadway, da da da, and it was like, okay, like, but it sounded like it was fun, like it wasn't.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about it like it's critical. And funny enough, I had a conversation with Hockey
Nice.
on Messenger, and we were talking about it, and we're talking about if this is really required viewing, they should have done the Hamilton treatment at least, right? Get a recording of it
Yes.
live and then throw it on
Throw it on
Netflix over the
Netflix.
summer. Feed
Yeah.
everybody's like, ambition over the summer and get them ready um for the show. And it's just it's a really big to me it's kind of a miss in the Stranger Things universe because number one, if they want to tell some of this stuff, I feel like they have to do some flashbacks in the next 3 episodes
Yeah.
to to explain the things that they're going to be dealing with. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like, oh wait, we changed stuff. Haha, just kidding. If you don't get the explanation for it, um, it'll be weird. And shit, man, maybe these next 3 episodes one of them is really the whole flashback story. I don't remember the names of the episodes.
Oh, I'm looking at him right now, homie.
Yeah.
So chapter 5 is Shock Jock. Chapter 6, and I think this is where we're going to get it, is Escape from Camazotz. So I feel like that's when you're going to get like, obviously, my God, I'm terrible with the names right now. Max, Holly. Is it Holly, the little girl? Anyways,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, Max
Who
and Holly.
who is
Um,
also way too old. The girl
LOL.
looks like she's 14. She's supposed to be like she's supposed to like people are like, oh, she's 9 or 10, but she was supposed to be like 3 years old in the first season, and it's only been 4 years. So she should be like 7, but like
LOL.
she looks like she's like 14. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I'll give her 8 or 9, but
Yeah.
you're right, you're right. But so because I mean, I'm a little like, yeah, I think that's it. I think that in some weird way, my like we're going all over the place. My prediction is that Henry wants to bring all those kids to the Upside Down because the Mind Flayer wants more soldiers. And Henry was soldier number one. And I think if he wants to take over the entire world, he's going to create a whole bunch of them because the kids are pliable. They are, all the things. Like it's almost like a child soldier type
Yeah.
analogy. And so Henry, in a way, is like I do think there will be a tragic redemption arc for Henry.
Yeah, I feel the same. One thing that's interesting, and one thing that Stranger Things does a lot, is they very blatantly um, foreshadow what's coming, right? Like very blatantly. And there's been at least a couple instances where they've started discussing wormholes in the first 4 episodes. So there's a lot of like fan theory out there that um, what um, what is happening, whether it's the Mind Flayer or Vecna or whoever that's doing with these kids, is ultimately to create a wormhole, which in theory, could be a more consistent doorway between worlds. I don't know.
Mhm.
Another thing that people pointed out is that um, for them to or for the number of kids that they're trying to get over there is 12, right? Well, there happens to be 12 numbers on a clock. Clock's a big deal for Vecna, right? So, what that means, I don't know. Um, but we can get into the episodes real quick too, because we didn't talk a whole lot about that yet. We kind of
Can I
talked
say something
around
though,
it.
really quick though?
Yeah, yeah.
The foreshadowing. So when we were doing the rewatch up to this episode, this season with me and Saloni, I laughed so hard in the first episode. Jason tells Lucas, Jason's the big jock, the asshole jock.
Hmm.
He goes, first hangover feels like you're going to split in two, but you'll live. I died. Because you know what happens to
Yeah.
Jason later. I'm just like, so you're right. They totally, they're very intentional with their storytelling. So I love that. All right. Yeah, we can go to the episodes for sure.
Yeah. So the first episode, uh, I've kind of already forgot. You want to break it down real quick?
Oh God, you know I'm terrible at this stuff. But yeah, sure. All right. So chapter one, The Crawl. What I'm loving about this, of course, it's about 2 years later. So it's already like it's a bit of a different world. I think one of the characters that I really kind of and Saloni loves this character too is Dustin. Dustin is a different guy now. He is actually, I think, depressed.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about him, and I feel like even though season four was kind of touted as the season of death, and then they kind of pulled back from that, season five might be the season of death, but I hope they pull back from that too because we need some uplifting things, right? That said, I think Dustin is a candidate for to die. And I think the reason why is because A, yes, he's depressed over, I'm terrible with names, but
Eddie Munson.
Eddie Munson, that he's depressed over that. He's wearing this shirt, which is absolutely and so funny too, because you know me, I'm a pragmatist. I'm like, why are you wearing the damn shirt? And Sloan's like, no, like he believes in that and he's staying true to himself, right?
Yeah.
Anyhow, he gets his ass kicked, by some bullies. What else? What else? What else? The Squawk. I love the Squawk. It's a radio station. I love that Robin, Rockin' Robin, okay, is like totally like, the DJ, and then Harrington Steve is kind of her backup. I thought it was cool that they played Upside Down by Diana Ross. I kind of like jokingly said to Saloni, I bet you they'll play I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross too later for
For
Will,
Will.
maybe. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. But like, we'll if that happens, awesome. But
Well,
and then, oh, keep going.
I was going to say the thing about Squawk too is it's a very pump up the volume kind of
Oh
situation, right? Like
yes,
they're running this thing, and they're it's not that they're not allowed to, right? They're allowed to do this, but they are passing a bunch of information over the radio in a very discreet way, which I thought was really cool.
like Radio Free Europe. It's just
Hmm.
like you have to be, and I love that even though nothing else has happened, it's crazy to me how, despite how blatant the Upside Down's entrance was, like they still have a way to kind of call it a natural disaster and an earthquake, and they're still lying to the residents, but they're under quarantine. Like it's kind of a crazy world. Linda Hamilton's character, I think, shows up, and I think that
Hmm.
she is like a trip because I think from the marketing, all the trailers, I thought she was going to be a good guy, but right now I'm not so concerned. I'm not so convinced.
Yeah,
I
she
think she
doesn't seem
might
like it.
be, nah, but still good. What else? What else? What else? What else? Joyce is still Joy. Okay, the crawl. So basically, the whole idea is they're going into the Upside Down. The military has opened up a portal to the Upside Down.
Yeah.
They've actually built an installation in the Upside Down.
Yep.
And like basically their whole mission, which is a great mission, is we gotta find Vecna and kill his ass to end this. Um, Vecna was hurt in the last season, but
Hmm.
and they're not sure that he's still alive or dead. But as we will find out, of course, later on in the
Yeah,
show,
he's very
he's
alive.
not dead. He's not
Yep.
dead. Oh,
Well,
oh,
very
and last
whatever
thing
he
I'll
is. I don't know
say,
if he's alive or dead, but he's Vecna.
you're right. He's functional. And the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say is there is serious love triangle stuff going on between Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy, and I don't even know how that's gonna.
I was talking to my son about this, and I'm not entirely convinced that it's a love triangle. Like I know Steve is trying to like impress her, but I think some of that is just his like machismo. Because when they are talking about going to see her at the hospital, I actually believe that he really was going because he was concerned about her, not because he was in love with her, but just because he cares about her. And I think Jonathan, like I feel like Nancy and Jonathan are the end game there. I think Steve is something else. Like Steve's always been sort of better off on his own. Like it's interesting that they wrote um, Robin to be a love interest and then they changed it
Yes.
and they haven't given another one. I was laughing to myself. I was thinking, it would be really funny if at the end of all of this, Steve meets 8 and is like, "Hey, girl," and then like they go, and run off because like that would almost make sense, right? Did he meet somebody new at the end, and finally we get to see this Steve that has evolved from season 1 into the guy that he is now. Um, but I think putting him with Nancy is too easy. And I think he's got more stuff to go through. And as for people dying, you know, Dustin makes the best candidate, but I just feel like none of the kids are gonna die.
I
Well,
have one more thing to add about Dustin. Dustin keeps talking about, I can't always be here to help you guys with this stuff. You know this stuff, you know? And I feel like that's also mad foreshadowing,
that
dude.
is
It's like,
true.
he's like, you can do this. This is not rocket. Because Dustin, what I love about Dustin, he's so clutch in all 3 seasons. He
Yeah,
is the reason they are all alive. But I think he's finally like, guys, you can do this. You don't need me. And now I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it, man. But yeah, I think if you he's I'm glad you were Mr. Storycraft. I'm just telling you this on the show. So to hear you say that it makes sense, like makes
yeah.
me feel good because I feel like yeah,
Well, and in it wasn't that episode. I think it was actually the fourth episode. But he
what was
sort
that?
of
You're not on.
passes the torch to Robin, right? Like Robin is now the person that is kind of doing Destiny things. She's a little more um like oblivious to what she's doing. Like she's sort of accidentally fixing things for people.
Mhm.
But she's ultimately the reason um that that
Yeah.
Will does what he does at the end of the fourth episode,
Oh
right? Like
God,
she
yes.
inspires him to, see himself as good enough, right? To dig down and really accept who you are.
Mhm.
Which I feel like in season 4, Jonathan did a good job. Like I always thought that conversation between Jonathan and Will, where he's just like, "I'm always here for you." Like
No
he's
matter
basically
what.
says, "Dude, I know what's going
Yes.
on with you. I get it,
Yep.
and you can just talk to me when you're ready."
Exactly. And I'll
Um,
still love you no matter what. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was a really good conversation, and I think Robin sort of had the flip side of that. She's like, "Look at yourself." She's like, I wasn't happy until I just accepted everything about myself as being
And
great.
I knew the answer was inside of me the whole time.
Yeah,
The answer to just everything. And that is just like we're just gonna skip around here, man. But you know what, we're gonna save that a little bit. I want to say for all the moms out there, and I think about the Jens and I think about the Kims, and I think about all the moms that we know, Mama Bear, man. Karen's moment was, I
oh
think,
yeah,
like glorious. And I think that for any that's yeah, like she brought it, man. And I just thought that was a great moment for Karen. I just wanted to like give like lip service to that. And jump in here, man. I just want to like call out the highlights. The whole the kid. I'm just gonna skip to I think yeah episode 3 the turnbow trap.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Derek
Um,
Turnbow.
Derek Turnbow, he's apparently a kid from Illinois who's only done a commercial. That's it. That's his only other acting credit. But I guess somehow, I guess one of the Duffers saw him in that commercial and was like, that's Derek. So they get Derek. Derek totally delivers. I love his little line where he goes like, Allison Klein is a snitch or whatever. Like, or like, you guys are kidnappers, and then, you should have I told you to eat Erica. I told you to eat the damn pie. Like, dude, I mean, I think it was like the perfect, like, kind of heisty episode, like, as far
Yeah,
as
yeah,
like, that was dope. I mean, we're going all over the place. The wall of uh stuff in the Upside Down to me is like kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones a bit. Like it just,
yeah. A
it
little
was,
bit. Yeah, for sure.
this giant wall. The Demogorgons are no joke this season. They seem to be faster and smarter. And yeah, and then just finally seeing Mad Max come back was a little emotional too. Like
Yeah, for
she's
sure.
still alive, and what she went through, and how she said you either like off yourself or you accept your fate or you try to escape, and she almost escaped, but then the door closed. I mean, this season is really, I think it's I'm actually already sad that we only have 4 more
4
episodes.
episodes left. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting too. Like speaking of Max, like she this is kind of the bummer too. Like she kind of bounces through the stuff that is in the play, but we see it like that much. We see like just fractions of it, like just a hair of it, and we don't really get the story, which I think is going to be important. And what we also see at the end, or I don't know if it's the end, but when she takes the girl out, and she's like, it also has a view. That's a view of New Mexico, right? Like the cave is from New Mexico. Everything she can see is New Mexico. That's where um, Henry first got pulled in, and so I don't know. Um, if this whole thing is really part of his imagination or his creation, then I think Max is going to be the one to kind of break down those walls and bring him back to humanity. Because she's if this is his world that he created, then she's inside of his brain, but running around kind of free, right? As long as she knows where to go. So like if she's gonna start to break him down, and maybe in a more positive way, she might be able to pull him back.
I also saw this theory about, I guess in D&D you need 20, like something a
Yeah.
roll 20. So there's like 11 and there's 8. And I think that that's 19. And then of course Will is the one. And I think you need all three of them to be able to defeat, the Mind Flayer. So that's that. And then I guess, to make sure that we're not boring our third person here in this podcast, we'll just kind of like start to wrap it up by let's just talk about that moment, dude.
Yeah.
Will. Will has spent the entire effing show needing saving or having a terrible haircut. I mean, that's really pretty much a great way to describe Will. And finally, I'm getting chills, dude. Will has this moment where he just realizes, wait a minute, if I'm feeling all the stuff that's happening to this hive mind, then maybe I can tap into it and control it. And right when, and it's earned, by the way, it's
Hmm.
earned. Like these kids have been very lucky. They haven't died all these shows, but then finally their luck runs out. They've tried their damnedest, but they are all gonna die. All three of them. Like they're all Demogorgons are coming at him, and it's like, ah, and then he just stops them in midair. Sorry, guys, I have to relive this. Stops them in midair, just holds them like that, and then literally holds them. He holds them, and then, and the dopest Jack move ever, he pulls a Vecna, and
Yep.
he lifts them up in the air, and they're all like this. And then when you start seeing that,
Yep.
I'm sure households all over the country were screaming. And then it drops them, and then his eyes are just white.
Yep.
Yo, I was just like, oh, I'm ready. Like, this can't be over now. And of course, it's fucking over.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then we have to wait until Christmas. Oh
Yeah.
my
I,
God.
I did see an article, and I think you posted it actually, and I agree that they said that Stranger Things made it acceptable to have basically 2 years between seasons, right? Like Stranger Things, they made it okay, and that really isn't the best thing for television. I've said this before. I think if you make people wait too long, unless you are perfect, unless you are the shit, which Stranger Things has been, it's had its ups and downs, but it has been the thing, right? Um, so if you don't have that, putting that time in between, you're going to lose your audience at some
Yeah.
point, right? And like I said, they've been very fortunate, but we're now seeing the issue where these kids look, 25 and they're supposed to be 16, right? Like you can
Especially
tell
Lucas.
they're too old.
Yeah.
Now I feel like it's also easier to accept because we've seen them grow up not only in the show but kind of in the media.
Mhm.
So we still accept them as those characters and all that. But um, it definitely like it takes its toll on a show like that. Like there's always been talk with Stephen King about doing the Dark Tower series and turning those books into a movie or a series of movies. And the problem that you have is the same problem they were able to solve with Harry Potter, but you can't with this, is that there is a 12-year-old boy in the Dark Tower series that maybe gets to be 13 years old through the whole course of the thing. Like it doesn't span 10 years. It's very short. And so you can't cast a kid that's going to stay 12 years old for, 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, they've always said maybe an animated series is the way to go, or something animated, because then the voice is just the voice, and then you're fine. I mean, shit, look at The Simpsons. They're on year, I don't know, 85 at this point and still going. But yeah, it's tricky. So, like I said, we've seen these kids grow, but like we have a bit of an advantage because we actually have watched them grow up besides just being on the show. But I definitely agree about Dustin. They definitely went dark with him, but
Hmm.
but it, story wise, it makes sense. Like Eddie was his hero. Like really, like him and Steve had like bromance, like buddy buddy stuff, but like Eddie was his hero. And when he lost him, it was a mess. So yeah, I can see why he was so sad. But
Yeah.
um, any any parting thoughts at this point for this, or are we really just waiting for Christmas now to get our present?
My parting thoughts is I will also say Hopper, man. Hopper's death has been teased so many times. I mean, especially like at the end of season 3, even though I knew he wasn't gonna die, I remember getting a little like emotional when he looks at Joyce that one last time before it explodes. And Sloane's like, and then like afterwards, he's like, I bet she's a Demogorgon. I bet she's a Demogorgon. So when they found, and we'll find out a way to like convert him from Demogorgon, but then she was happy that he was back. Um, but then like when he goes into that room and they're flashing back to him and his daughter, like his
Yeah,
real
yeah,
daughter.
like great, he's gonna die again. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yes. I'm like, don't do, and then he comes back. I'm like, don't do this. So I feel like
That reminds me though,
they gotta have their
the
go.
one thing we didn't really talk about is that when he comes back, we see eight for the first time
Yes, yes.
since,
Say the payoff. Thank you.
yeah,
Yes.
which if to see her like this, we know she's going to be in future episodes now, right? So
Oh
it's
yeah.
not just like she showed up, made everybody see something funky, and then
Sick.
bolted. Like she has a significant
Role
um,
to play.
role to play in the story. So that'll be really interesting, and to see them break her out. And like you said, I'm really curious to see where Linda Hamilton goes with this,
Hmm.
because yes, she seems like a bad guy, but her obsession has never been Vecna. Her obsession is 11 and where 11 is. Like always, like she's always asking about 11. And so she may not be as bad. She just doesn't understand the situation as deeply as other people do. So we'll see. She's definitely interesting, but she's a bad bitch. Like she
Oh
fought
yes.
she fought Hopper hard.
Oh yes, she did. Yeah. So great casting. Great
Yep.
casting. All right. Stranger Things. Definitely don't go see it. Or not go see it because it's not in the theaters. Actually, but it will be on the 31st.
No, I thought they weren't doing that anymore.
Oh, really?
I thought they decided against it. Um, because and I remember being kind of glad they did, because they showed that first 5 minutes of the first episode, and I felt like the special effects weren't good enough for the theater to me.
Well, according to AI, for what it's worth, Netflix is partnering with AMC theaters to show Stranger Things season finale in select theaters on the same day it appears in Netflix. And yeah, yeah, we'll see how we'll
Yeah,
see how it goes.
like I said, it's an interesting thing because I worry that if you put it in theaters and people don't go, that
Mm,
is always that box office failure ish is gonna follow the story around for the
yeah.
rest of time, when this is um
You know what I would
I-
do? I would just release the tickets early, and if they're not selling, then cancel it. Easy.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah, just
that's
refund
what I
it,
would do.
like
Yeah.
because this is, even if it's not the best series ever, which I think I've seen in a couple of places, and I would certainly argue that this is not the best series ever made, right? There's a lot of shows that I think are better, But as far as the zeitgeist goes and the size of, I mean, this feels at this point how well it's doing and how well it's tying up the stories. This is Game of Thrones level stuff, right? And you just want it to end successfully. And I feel like, I mean, I trust them to end the story right. But
Yeah.
when this thing ends on December 31st, or December 31st, like it's the end of an entire era. Like this thing
Yeah.
is done. That they're talking about. There's a Nancy Wheeler. I think it's a comic that they're doing a
It's a comic
spinoff.
or a book or something, but either way,
Yeah,
yeah, who
and
cares?
then there's an animated thing that's coming up that is supposed to be between seasons 2 and 3, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, they'll keep it alive a little bit, but I think
And
it's the end of an era. Like when this thing is done, the Duffers are on to their next project. Like they know what they're doing next. I don't know if they've said, but I know they know what they're doing next.
cool.
And so it'll be a sad day on New Year's Eve. You know, so
Lauren, have you been thoroughly spoiled, or do you know like nothing about this, so you'll be okay if you decide to take the plunge?
think I'll delve into it eventually, but guys, it's like a huge time commitment that I'm at this point just not willing to invest in. But I do understand that it's very popular. There's a big appeal, but I think just the fact that we're now in like what season five, it would probably take me, I'd imagine, at least a month or two. And with
if you
Mm.
did an episode a day ish, you'd get through it pretty quick because no
It's
season
only
has
eight.
more than 9 episodes, and
Yeah, it
most of
goes
them are 8.
8, 9, 9, 8.
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
heard that the Broadway show is incredible, like the most
Ye-
magnificent thing
That's
on.
been. Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah, we were
when I
talking about
saw,
that. I would definitely say if you're going to start, I would get if you're going to go see that, watch the first.
I wasn't planning to see it without watching the show first.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah,
sure.
but I'm wondering if it makes sense to watch it before or after season 4, but definitely before season 5, right? So if you like, I would actually watch the play before season 5, because the play directly affects the story in a way that if you didn't see the play, things are missing. Like there's information that you don't have that exists in the world for you to see. And if you think about even when the play came out, it came out before season 5. Like the intention was to see this before season 5.
Yeah,
So I think it almost makes sense to watch season 4 and then kind of go back and see,
fair.
what happened before and then go into season 5. But I would definitely say if you can, check out the play first.
What makes this series so iconic and memorable and just, I mean, is it because it was Netflix like first big thing, or why are
It's
people so about this?
all I can say is go watch the first episode because the first episode is perfect. It draws you in immediately. You know who every character is. You get an idea of the universe. Um, it is 80s nostalgia without being in your face 80s nostalgia, right? Like it's almost a period piece in that way, in the way that it lives in the 80s. Um, but it's the visuals are there. The stories are all compelling. You care about the characters right out of the gate. And I think that's always the key to a show being really successful. You have to care about the characters for it to keep going on. And the advantage that this has too is the same advantage some of the most popular movies of the 80s have. You got a group of kids going through something, and they're our main heroes. We have adults all over the place, but we're seeing it through the eyes of the kids. And really what it comes down to is the Duffers are just great storytellers.
I would also add, and I was talking to Sloan about this too, is that it really appears to multiple generations, appeals to multiple, because Gen X lived it. Millennials, I think, can kind of relate to it just because it's good storytelling. But then Gen Z, I think, are basically the actors now, right? And then even Gen Alpha can get into it because I think some of the youngest characters are Gen Alpha, like in terms of their current age. So
Mhm.
you're talking 4 generations. That is a very mass appeal show to have all 4 generations, something for them to get into. And again, I think the compelling story is what's going to grab the millennial. And it's kind of ironic that you, as a millennial, are probably the least enthusiastic, at least in this room, right? But for Gen X, again, we lived it. Gen Alpha, that's like, I mean, Gen Z, that is the main stars now.
Yeah, because
And
who's the most passionate person we know about Stranger Things?
Gen Z, effing Sydney,
Yeah, Sydney, a
Jen's kid.
16-year-old, 15-year-old, something like that. Like
Yeah.
she loves it. She's watched it multiple times.
Multiple times. She
Yeah.
wrote a damn near not an essay, what's a dissertation on why season two was the best season.
She's just a bully, man. She bullied me. She's a mean kid.
She actually really is. No, man. INFP. INFPs are great until you cross a bound, like a value, and her INFP dragon came out
Her
for
value,
sure,
yeah,
man.
her boundary was season two, man.
Yes.
She ate my soul. But I still stand up. I still actually think season two is the weakest season.
It is the weakest season. Even
Um,
11 thinks so. Millie
yeah,
Bobby Brown. So thank
but
you for
yeah,
enjoying that, Lauren. And
yeah.
we hope you
You
like
endured a
this
lot
talk.
here.
Yes.
Um,
No, you're
s-
good. I'm glad you guys are passionate about something and it's a passion that's shared by millions of people. Clearly, it's so successful. So I'm
yeah,
excited you guys are able to, for it's been what, 3 years since this thing has been.
Right.
It's
Longer,
that's a
actually. I
long,
could
that's a
say
long time.
well, the show
So,
debuted in 2017, right?
16
2016.
but since
So
season four and
since season
season five,
four.
yeah,
Yeah,
3 years. That's a long time
it
for.
is a
I'm sure
long time.
the anticipation has been
I'm still of the opinion
level.
it's too long.
Well, we can blame
But
COVID for that. Wait, no, it wasn't COVID.
no,
You're
it's
right.
after
Because it was
It was
COVID.
the
2020.
writer's strike, wasn't it?
Maybe,
I think the strike hurt it. Yeah.
maybe, maybe.
Perfection takes time. I'm sorry. I feel like, it should take
It
time.
does, but
But yeah, they
it's a
pushed it with
risk.
this one.
It's a
They pushed
risk.
it.
These guys were good enough that it was fine, but it's a risk
Agreed.
to take that much time between
Much
seasons.
so that you guys both rewatched it. I know for
Mhm. So
obviously,
many of us rewatched it. Oh, I think a lot of people did. It was actually the number seven show on Netflix before even the new season came out, just
Yep,
from
right.
all the people rewatching it.
yep.
Yeah.
And the first episode crashed Netflix, so that was neat. Um, so
Cool.
cool. All right. Well, yes. If for some reason you haven't watched Stranger Things, definitely go watch it. Um, it will be an undertaking. You know, it's not the longest show. It's not like you're going to go rewatch like, Breaking Bad or Lost or something
Awesome.
and, get yourself into 24 episodes a season. Um, but it's long. And I think what we saw is season four is actually longer
It's
than
the
season
longest.
five.
Yes.
Because there's a couple of 2+ hour episodes and
2.5 hours for the season finale. It's a movie, but
yeah,
I'm sorry. Like, all I'll say is helicopter, desert, and I was like, and Sony was like, "You were right. No, that was epic." I'm like, "I
yeah.
know."
And this
And
And,
is
then
and,
the
and
time
for,
Sony has seen Stranger Things from start to or
yeah,
from
she literally was not really about it, but I convinced her, and because her like her sister and brother-in-law, like after listening to me, they had started season one, dropped off at season two, and I said, guys, you need to go back.
stay
And
with
they
it.
did, and they loved it. So that's what helped me get her to see
Well, I
it.
know
yes, go ahead. No, go ahead.
of my friends that are very different, right? I think that's the other thing that is important to me too when I'm understanding. Like if I hear that both you and Kevin are watching something, and then some of my girlfriends are watching something, and the coworkers, it's different cohorts that are not all the same. So if there's a show, a movie that appeals to multiple personalities, there's something there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I feel like, especially with the first season, I don't know anybody that started this show that didn't love the first season.
True.
I can see where people had a problem with the second season. I had a problem with this when I did the rewatch. It's really slow compared to the first season, but it's sort of like it's a table setter. Like when you go back and look at the things that happen in the second season, they're very important to the rest of the show.
Yes, they
It's
are.
just not as exciting as the first season because the first season was tight. Like everything was tense. Everything, you felt everything happening. And season two was just a little slower. And season three, much more.
It moved
Uh,
quickly.
yeah,
It actually moved quicker than season four, which is crazy. But then season four just becomes, I think, towards the end. For me, it's the massacre at Hawkins Lab. It's my favorite episode of that season.
All right.
just because it
Well,
goes into this history. Sorry. Okay,
yeah.
we're gonna shut up. All right, moving on.
So we should move on.
Mhm.
Um, and Lauren, you've got a couple of things that are relevant, but I'm actually really, really curious. Rental Family is the Brendan Fraser film, right? Where he goes to. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm really curious about this one because I'm hearing a lot of buzz about it, and I want to know if it's as good as I'm seeing.
I'll be honest with you, I nodded off in the beginning of the movie, which I know it's so bad. It's so bad to the point where I was like, all right. And granted, it was a long couple of days prior to Thanksgiving, but watching interviews and like it caught up. Is it the most fascinating movie? No, but
Mm.
I'm Team Brendan Fraser. This guy
Yeah.
is coming
Yeah.
back strong. I'm gonna watch and support him, especially after watching The Whale. We talked about this
Hmm.
months ago. This is a passionate actor that really wants to pack a punch and come back strong and take on a bunch of different type of roles. And there's something just very endearing about him. You listen to him in interviews, and I think this is the perfect role for him to really showcase his gentle giant soft spot of an actor. And he plays this guy Philip who lives in Japan and takes on actor roles, and pretty much a lot of the acting roles are white American guy, and that's what he does. And he joins this or finds this firm where they hire people to fill a void in someone's life. So whether it be being hired to be a part of in one of the opening scenes, he was hired to be like the American white guy to show up to somebody's funeral. They just hired him to show up places. He was hired to be a friend for this former actor and companion to some degree for this Japanese gentleman who was definitely on his last legs, and to do really memorable things with this elderly person so that he can really enjoy his last couple of months of life. Which if you've seen the trailer, this woman hires Brendan or puts in a request to hire an American white male or at least Caucasian to play the father of her daughter, where I think the father like left, from my understanding, but he plays this father to this mixed child who's been wondering who her dad was for some time. And you can just see how well he connects with this child. And she's adorable, this actor. And she's just always wanted to have her dad around. And he really enjoys this role. And you could tell he gets close to this little girl, and she loves being around him. And she becomes vulnerable and feels very comfortable with him versus the way she is with her mom, where it's very tense at times. And even though she's only maybe like 7, 8 years old, you could tell she wants to have a relationship with the father. And she gets that to some degree with Brendan Fraser's character. So it's showing these actors like one of the other people that's, and apparently this is a real thing, like this agency exists and it talks about it. And I was watching The View, I was going through after, as I do with many films, I'll watch actors and interviews and stuff, and he was telling the cat or well telling the panel and cast of The View that this is a real thing in Japan, where there's a huge loneliness epidemic in general. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, more so relating to male loneliness, but I think in cultures like Japan, where in particular you don't really talk about your feelings as much, they'll have firms like this where you can fill a void essentially and hire people to, whether it be join you as a companion or have someone fill in as being a father or fill in being, let's say, and I've read this online before. There's some people that will, and I know this is a thing here in the US, they'll hire people to be a date to a wedding. Like
Hmm.
someone needs a date to a wedding and it's their sister's wedding or brother's wedding and they don't want to be alone. So they'll hire. So this is a thing, this firm. They show this one scene where this married man, I think, is lonely in his marriage, and he hires this woman, not even to like have sex or anything like that, but they just go out to dinner. He's lonely in his marriage. And he hires this woman. I know it's a little cringe, but nonetheless,
No, actually, just funny enough, the same thing happens in Lost. You have Locke. He's got a phone sex worker that he calls every day and spends all this money just to have conversations with, just to have
correct.
somebody that loved, to be in love with. Helen was her name, and he wants to have a connection with someone because his life changed, right? He got in an accident, he's handicapped, whatever. So it's a real thing. Like people, and I think funny enough, I think now we're going to see the same thing happen, but with
Yeah.
like AI chatbots, right? Yeah.
Andrew episode with the video game and Black Mirror.
Why am I blanking out? But I believe it. But I'm trying to remember the bit. Oh, yes. To shoot. Something like fighting tigers or something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, okay. Fair.
I don't know. I thought about that in the movie, but granted, this doesn't take like a sexual turn, but
No.
that's definitely like that's where my mind went. I was like, okay, with AI, but granted, this is with actual people.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. And when Brendan Fraser explains that he also like learned Japanese for this, he's like very invested in this role and learning about the culture. And yeah, I thought he did a great job. Do I think this is like another Academy Award for him? No, I don't. But I think Hollywood has invited him back in with open arms, as they should, right? I mean, this guy, he's a gem. He really is a gem, and I'm all about supporting him. And heck, after seeing what he did, and we talked about, was it method acting a couple of weeks
Hmm.
ago and stuff? I mean, what he did, if that's not method acting, I don't know what is. Just his preparation for that role and how he really embodied that professor. That was another level. And I respect the hell out of him, especially knowing and reading about sort of what he went through, within the past 10, 15 years or so and how he's coming back. I think it's also rare to see this from a male perspective, with the exception of oh my God, Iron Man. Iron Man.
Yeah. RDJ. Robert Downey
RDJ.
Jr.
I feel like you see this more from women that are coming back recently, but it's nice to see things like this from men as well. So, yeah, I think it's great. And do I think it's a massive hit? No, but I think they're doing a good job at trying to market it. And the fact that they brought
Mhm.
Brendan Fraser, it's awesome. They're, showing him in a very different light, Japanese culture. And I think it also just thematically it makes a lot of sense and coincides with a lot of the loneliness epidemic that we're constantly seeing pop up again. And now with AI, granted, this doesn't incorporate AI, but it discusses loneliness and how people will pay to fill that void.
Yeah. And you said it too, like marketing for this has been really good. I've actually seen a lot of marketing for this, and it's not the kind of movie that I would expect a ton of marketing for. Like I definitely feel like somebody in their marketing department is watching our show and listening to us bitch about marketing in general, like for
Well, Kevin, I'll
movies.
actually say really quick, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I may or may not have actually spoken to their marketing people. Not about this, of course, but in line with my job. No, they're owned by Disney. Searchlight used to be Fox Searchlight. Disney bought them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna say they're client or not, but yeah, they want to win, and they definitely, you know what, I should shut the fuck up. But I was just gonna say more about who they see as a competition. But either way, they're not slouching, and it's really cool to see that whatever they're doing is actually working and reaching people. As a tangent, because I have the tangent really quickly, but it's related. I'm going to tangent in two directions. Number one, I do think Her, the film with Joaquin Phoenix
Phoenix, I thought
and
about that as well.
yeah, and Scarlett Johansson, like that's AI basically. So I feel like I do think done right, I think AI is a great way to mitigate the loneliness epidemic. The other tangent, really quickly, is I saw in my feed, and I literally was like, I was sad. There was a picture, Kevin, I'm sure you saw it, of Brendan Fraser in the Superman outfit for his
Yes.
screen test, and he would have killed it. I think he was perfect for the role.
Yeah.
He has that good guy energy, that wholesome, genuinely good through and through persona. And the size, everything, he would have been an amazing Superman. I could
Yeah.
even see it, Brendan Fraser, Superman, done.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. It was one of those what ifs. But I just wanted to give lip service to that.
Yep. So
Nice.
cool. All right. So I mean, it sounds like you would tell people to watch it, but maybe wait till it hits streaming.
100%. I don't think it was something that it was, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to see my friend and I were waiting for Hamnet, but it wasn't out yet. And I was like, oh, what else is available? So just based on time of the actual show times itself prior to this week and such. So and we're seeing Hamnet. I'll talk about that next week. We're seeing that on Wednesday. That was our top choice. But nonetheless, that's with Paul.
It's directed by Chloe Zhao.
Yeah,
I never even heard of
it's
this.
about Shakespeare. That's gonna be pretty
Okay.
sick. It's with
And
Paul
Paul Mescal.
Mescal.
Hmm.
Yeah, which I'm looking forward to because I took a Shakespeare class in college. I enjoyed reading literature and learning about Shakespearean history and all that jazz. So yeah, I think this will be interesting, and I'm seeing it with a friend of mine who is an English teacher. So
Nice.
that'll be cool. So yeah, but again, very heartwarming. I think it's very hard to pass up. I will say though, going into the theater for Wicked, they had a second display in the lobby at Kips Bay AMC of an outfit that he wears where at this you learn in the film like prior to him joining this firm, he does a lot of commercials and acting gigs, and one of them is like a Japanese commercial influencing people to brush their teeth, and they have like almost like a superhero outfit that he wears where he's influencing people, you want to brush your teeth to stay healthy, etc. So they have that on display, and I was very confused. I was like, is Brendan Fraser, and this is prior to me seeing the movie, right? But I was like, this is pretty cool. They're trying to definitely influence people to see the movie and to get people excited. But I was curious. I was like, why is there a superhero outfit and a toothbrush? So bizarre
Nice.
in the lobby here. But that was for a rental family, which you come to find in the film is one of his gigs prior to joining this firm.
Cool.
Cool. All righty. Well, I think Andrew, you get us in the holiday spirit, man. You watched a Christmas movie because you were forced to. Because if there's anything I know that is that this is totally not your type of film, but
Oh no.
Andrew's go-to genre. Continue.
yeah, yeah. Holiday
Okay.
rom-coms. Might as well just get a subscription to the Hallmark Channel and just dive in, man.
Yeah. And when you cried, tell us what part you cried.
LOL, you guys are hilarious. All right. So, basically, because your boy keeps saying it, I will soon be actually be hitched, but right now I'm in that pre-hitch stage. I'm a husband elect. All right. It's a film called Champagne Problems. Apparently, it has nothing to do. This is a coincidence, but I found out when I was Googling the film. Apparently, there's a Taylor Swift song called Champagne Problems. Hilarious. So I feel like that they definitely know their demo, right? So anyway, it's a film that's on Netflix right now. I think it's like number 8 or something. Like it's actually being heavily watched. And it stars, if you know your actors, I'll say, being actresses, Minka Kelly, Tom Woznicka. They're kind of the two main people. There's a comedian named Sean Amsing and Flula Borg. Now, one of the things I'll say right away, and she agreed, was I said they're picking actors who look a little bit like bigger names. Like there's someone named Maeve Courtier Lilly who looks like, oh my God, what's her name? Her name is escaping me right now, but she's the kind of quirky actress who was in White Lotus Part 2, the second season. You know what I'm talking about? The quirky one. I think she's in
Mm.
Parks and Rec or something. Brunette.
Oh,
Um,
Audrey Plaza.
Thank you. Looks
Aubrey
like Aubrey
Plaza.
Aubrey
Plaza.
Plaza.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza. And then Minka looks a bit like Natalie Portman's doppelganger. You know what I'm talking about, Lauren. The English actress.
Oh, Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley, right.
And
So
Minka
anyway,
Kelly, I think, was around first, though. I think she actually hit it before Keira Knightley.
wow,
She
okay.
she was she disappeared. Like she was acting in the
She's in
early
Friday Night Lights.
2000s. Yeah, she was one of the main characters in Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Before, and she'd been around for a long time, and she disappeared. Like she was one of the people that they dated Derek Jeter for a little while back in the day. Like and she's gorgeous. She's
Yes,
a beautiful,
I'll give you
beautiful
that.
girl. Um, and
She was in Euphoria. That's weird. I didn't know that.
I
she
had no
probably
idea.
played somebody's mom.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
I have to go back and look at that. Anyway, clearly Rotten Tomatoes loves it. 69% critics, 63% audience. But anyway, I didn't hate it, but there's no way I'd ever watch it again. Basically, the idea behind this movie is Minka Kelly plays this, executive who's about mergers and acquisitions. And it kind of starts off in a boardroom full of dudes, right? And she just gives this presentation on how she can get this wine company in Paris to like sell to them so they can kind of do this. After she gives the presentation, her ex is kind of like in the room. He's one of the guys, but the board lead guy says, "We're sending you to Paris. You're going to do the pitch." And she's like, "Yes, victory." So she then is like on her phone with her sister Aubrey Plaza, and Aubrey Plaza is like, "I know you're a workaholic, and I know that you got your last relationship didn't work out, but please just like give yourself one night in Paris. Just like totally just do it for yourself." So she's like, okay. So she goes to Paris. It's very scenic, all the things that like, the audience wants to see. Sony's like, we were totally doing that. We're totally doing that. This is amazing. This is beautiful. And I'm just like, yes, honey, yes, dear. So anyway, so she goes to this bookstore and she's like, oh my God, this bookstore is amazing. And I'm like, of course, yes, yes. So she goes to the bookstore and then Tom Wisnica shows up and he's all French with his French accent. I can't do French accents. But anyway, he's talking to her in French and, just dropping a little French here and there. And eventually he's able to like talk her into, even though he's a total stranger, talk her into like, let me show you real Paris, whatever. So you go around, like it's all romantic and stuff. And you're seeing Paris. It's a great like what's the word commercial for Paris, right? Christmas in Paris, by the way, so it's beautiful. And then of course, like they, get together or whatever. Then the next day, she's like late to the meeting, and then she goes out to the meeting. And I'm not going to give away things, but I'll just say that the elements of this are, of course, there's her, there's Mr. Scruffy Tom Wozniacki, French guy. Then there's like her trying to navigate this whole merger and acquisition situation. There's two comic reliefs. There's Sean Amsing, who plays this like gay dude who's like competing from another a firm to do this acquisition thing to sell to. There's another guy named Flula Borg, and he is totally German, and he's also comic relief, but he's all very like stiff and whatever. And there's a cute little dog. And by the end of the movie, of course, everything works out and it's beautiful and it's all like a nice bow. And, it looks a little shit like there's definitely some like danger, like, uh-oh, like what's gonna happen, and like there's definitely like a schism and like they sort of like aren't cool anymore. But, there's a chase.
Sounds like the Hallmark movie formula.
There's like
Yes,
there's
with
even and she called everything. She's like, "Oh, watch, this is gonna happen. Watch,
yeah.
this is gonna happen." And of course, it all happens.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm telling you, if she talks you into watching more than three Hallmark movies, you will have mastered the formula for the broad audience rom-com. There's a lot of ones out there that do things a little different or whatever.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, there's very much a formula. They shouldn't be finding each other, but they end up, getting together. Then with about a half an hour to go, they have a falling out. And then with 15 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, they come back together because they have to do something, and then they're in love, and then it's over. Like it every single time.
every single time.
Every
And
single time.
all I'll say is like again, yo, she watched Battle freaking Star Galactica for
Yeah,
me.
you owe a
Okay,
lot right
that's
now.
4 seasons. Those are like 45 minutes an episode, and like they're pretty much like like well, first season's only like 13 episodes. The second one's like 20 something. Third one's like 20 something, and the fourth one's like yeah 20 something. So that's that. And then she watched Stranger Things for me. So the least I could do is suffer through a couple of rom-coms. So that's what I'm
All right,
doing.
well, I'll throw another one your way. So this sounds a lot like Emily in Paris, but in show in movie form. I think Saloni would like Emily in Paris if she hasn't seen it already.
Is that a
Super
movie or a TV show?
Andrew. It's a show. It's a show. You never heard of Emily in Paris?
No. I
TV show
mean,
on
Lily
Netflix.
Collins.
Funny, yeah, it's a Netflix show.
Netflix show Lily Collins. She goes for work to Paris. Bro, it's actually really good. I like that show a lot. Season 5 comes out
oh
in
God.
December.
Yeah, so maybe don't tell Saloni about it, otherwise you're in for a
No.
5 season haul.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna
No.
lie, by like season 4, it gets a little bad. But whatever. I mean, it's the absolute, and you know me, I'm like usually not about this, but it is the ultimate escapism show. And of course, she falls for a chef, but Lily Collins plays an American who goes to Paris for work at this agency, marketing agency, where she has to pitch different products. A lot of them are luxury champagne. I think one of them is called Champère, so she has to do the Champère pitch. It's hilarious. It sounds so much like Emily in Paris.
Darren Star, he did like 90210 and stuff. That makes sense.
So good.
It's a 50% audience on Rotten Tomatoes and a 63% critics. That's even worse than the movie I watched, dude. I don't know, man. Not looking good.
In terms of what season though?
I feel like Rotten Tomatoes just it's just like whatever is the latest.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
it just
gets to
says
the
it's
aggregate.
all it's aggregated. Yeah.
Okay,
But no, no, I mean duly noted. I appreciate the suggestion. I will
solid.
mention it. I like Mindy
Have you
Chang.
watched it?
No, no, I haven't.
You've never watched? I feel like you would really like Emily in Paris. It's fun.
Maybe.
It's funny. It's sweet. It's funny. My
Yeah.
mom loved it. She watched it. I mean, granted, my mom loves anything that's like about love and la la la. It's a cute show. Lily Collins is great. I'm trying to think who else is like pretty. I mean, there's a lot of French actors. Ashley, is it Ashley Song?
Ashley Park. I like her because she was in Beef and I loved her character. She
Mm.
was hilarious.
Yeah, Ashley Park
Mhm.
is her friend who's a singer and she sings in the show.
Nice.
Yeah, she's really great. And then Luca Bravo, he's dating Shailene Woodley now. He plays the chef
He
who,
looks like the guy in my movie. Like they look alike. There's a
yeah,
tie.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, he's very attractive. Yeah, but it's such a good show. And then they bring in this British guy who's like really hot too. It's everyone's attractive on the show, but it's addicting and it's sweet and
I think in like romance, if they're not attractive, like then they better be comic relief or something. Otherwise, you're like,
Yeah.
why are you there? You know?
Yeah.
Romance and what's the other yeah, YA. YA and romance, you have to be good looking. Otherwise, you're not allowed to be cast, I feel like. Or you have to be that kind of like
funny comic
um
relief, like you said.
I was gonna say, or like, something positivity, whatever it is. Like it has to be like body positivity or I don't know, like I should say ugly positivity, but something. There's got to be an angle to why you're there. I am
A
such a dork.
redeeming quality.
Yeah, like you have to have a reason aesthetically to be there.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you for the suggestion, though. That was very kind of you.
Of course. Well, no, what you were saying was it made me think of the show, which is actually really sweet. So at least the first like 1, 2, maybe 3 seasons. But yeah, nonetheless, um, what did you enjoy about the movie?
What I enjoyed actually was, I would say, um, what did I enjoy? Uh, I enjoyed just, I enjoyed the conviction the guy had actually for her. Like, I liked that. I liked that. I liked how, um, things wouldn't have worked out had each of the characters not acted with integrity. I feel like integrity played a big role in things working out in at every angle. I feel like the main character, her, like she was true to herself at every turn. I think he was true to himself at every turn. I think even the people, yeah, everybody around them kind of did the right thing. And the quote unquote villain, like yeah, Yeah, I think it's kind of like, it's very much like the villains get their just desserts and the good people get their just desserts. So I feel like I can see the appeal. It's almost like taking a messy world and having a wish fulfillment idea of this is a world gone right. But I also think that it's okay to have that because that's the reason why I like superhero films. It's almost like, okay, the world isn't perfect, but let's show you some examples of
When it
good
does work out.
behavior. Yeah, so that way you can model that, you
Sure.
know? I do think that it's an even exchange, and I'm trying to bring an N-type analysis to what I would call a bit more of an S-type thing. But like I think that culture does shape entertainment and vice versa. It's a loop. So I applaud entertainment that might seem a bit simple, but I think sometimes there is beauty in simplicity, especially if it's something that promotes
Hope.
excellent behavior and excellent values and connection. Because by
Yeah.
the end of it, they're good. Like I feel like the guy's good, she's good, and everybody around them is good. And you can't hate that.
Yeah.
Great question.
Cool, cool. Well, let's stick with Netflix, but not rom-com. Lauren, you watched The Beast in Me, and I know I started this, but I started on a night that I was super tired, and I fell asleep pretty early into it. But I could tell that it's pretty tense. It's Claire Danes and
Matthew Reese.
yeah,
So
Matthew Reese.
yeah,
Um,
it's I think it was a little bit slow for me to start for sure, and I can see why you didn't immediately get hooked to start. But yeah, it's solid. So this is, I believe, a 8, 9 episode series, short series about an author played by Claire Danes. Her character is Aggie Wiggs, and she lives in a cul-de-sac, which I believe is in Long Island. You know this to be the suburbs of New York City, and she
Real quick,
finds out that,
did we
pardon?
say did we say the name of the show?
Yeah, the Beast in Me.
Okay, okay, okay.
Oh,
For
I
some reason,
thought
I
you
thought we
said it.
didn't. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. It's
Go
called The
ahead.
Beast in Me. So Claire Danes' character, Aggie Wiggs, is, you come to find, uh, somewhat recently divorced within the past few years. She lost her son a few years prior, and she gets a new neighbor moving in, and it is this man by the name of Niles Jarvis, who is in real estate, and he allegedly killed his wife maybe like 4 or 5 years prior. And due to all the suspicion and rumors about him, he's trying to keep a lower profile, so he moves to the suburbs and happens to be the next door neighbor now of author Aggie Wiggs. Aggie Wiggs has written some best-selling novels, and the past 3, 4 years is struggling and is in a bit of a rut. And she's working on a piece right now about the friendship of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and, oh my God, the conservative justice who she was friends with, Justice Ginsburg, and I'm like typing this in. Anyway, it's not giving her, I think, enough enjoy. I don't want to say enjoyment, but it's not something that is really giving her the motivation to finish this book. So at this point, I think she's kind of not as excited to write this, so she's been putting it off. And at this
Scalia. That's what I thought. Keep going.
Scalia, thank
Scalia.
you. Yep,
Yep.
Scalia. So I think she gets excerpts of their conversations and them being friends and so different. So she meets this new neighbor, and at this point, he's remarried to Brittany Snow's character, who's a bit younger than him. And I think it's all very suspicious, just given the fact that, his ex died not too long ago, and you find that Nina Jarvis, who's Brittany Snow's character, was the former admin and assistant to his deceased wife. So that's a little bit sketchy. So Niles Jarvis wants to build a running path in the back, and he sends in the mail a note to all the neighbors wanting a signature so that he can have this path. And Aggie Wiggs is the only one who doesn't sign it. So he's trying to get her to sign it. And she ends up going over there after there's noise next door and just a few disturbances where they're not being the most, let's say, neighborly of new neighbors. And he asks her to sign, and she says, absolutely not. I'm not interested. He ends up taking her to lunch. And after lunch, they come across this teenage guy, early 20 something. And she tells him that's the kid who was under the influence and is responsible for killing my son a couple of years ago. So you can tell she has this strong disdain for this person, and you don't know much about the accident. You just know that it's a car accident. Her son died on impact, and this kid was not formally arrested. He was taken into questioning and apparently had a couple drinks in him. You don't know the whole situation, but she's very angry. This anger led to her divorce from her wife, and she definitely has not been the same ever since. At this point, she's stuck in a mental block when it comes to her writing. So Niles picks up on that, and the next day, this guy who apparently killed her son has gone missing. They find a note and his car in the water the next day, which sort of, in her mind, parallels how Niles Jarvis's wife died a few years prior. Body missing, suicide note, never found body. So she's convinced that this guy murdered the young boy who indirectly killed her son. So she's really concerned. She forms a connection with this police officer, FBI investigator, let's call him an FBI investigator, who comes to her home and says, don't trust Niles Jarvis. He's up to no good, etc. And she comes up with the idea while they're at lunch when she's before all this happens. He says to her, what are you working on next? We've read your book. We're big fans. And she says, oh yeah, I'm writing about the friendship between Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Scalia, Justice Scalia. And he's like, boring. No one wants to read it. There's a reason why you haven't actually finished this. You should write about me. So she comes back a few days later and she gets the idea, how do I get close to this guy and learn more about him and see if he actually is responsible for killing the boy or the young man who potentially killed my son? I'm going to tell him I want to write about him and learn everything I can about him. So then this starts the series where she is learning more about Niles Jarvis, about his life, his past, his relationship with his wife, what may have caused her to kill herself, or is he actually a killer? Interviews family members, the parents of his ex-wife, becomes close with his new wife, Brittany Snow's character, Nina, and they go through a lot of tense moments, the two of them. They get very close, Aggie Wiggs and Niles Jarvis, and she is incredibly afraid of him because she realizes this guy lives on the edge and he is so manipulative and scary, and so much so that, there are times where her house gets broken into and he changes and redlines the edits to the book, and she puts the title, or he changes the title, The Beast in Me. So that's why it's called that. And I'm not going to give it away, but they end up revealing at the end who actually kills his wife, and then what happens to the boy from the end of the first episode or early second episode, I believe. What happens to that boy who was indirectly responsible for her son's death? And is there a connection? No connection? Were these both suicides, random, or is Niles Jarvis responsible for this? It's a pretty good series. It definitely leaves you questioning the intent of this guy, and also just his new wife. Are people completely going in blind? Are they ignoring things that they shouldn't be ignoring? Or is this guy completely being framed because of his hot-headed nature and the fact that he's rich and a lot of things that the press has against him? So it's a lot of a who done it, did he do it, the main target, and then Agatha Wiggs using her skills of being a great writer and interviewer and trying to find the truth in this series. So it's solid. And I haven't seen Claire Danes in anything in a while. I know she was known for her stint in Homeland, which I didn't see,
Show's great.
but I've heard nothing but good things. And I know she's, from my understanding, very selective in the roles that she takes on. So this was solid. I do recommend it. I know the few people that I've spoken with who have seen it all liked it as well. It took me about, I think, 4 days to complete it, watching one or two episodes at a time. But yeah, I do recommend it. Definitely a little bit of a slower start, but once you get into like episode two, episode three, you're off.
Does it feel like a show that's going to get a second season?
Now,
Okay.
I think it's done. It's done.
So that's good. I actually kind of like that. It's kind of nice to have a show that just tells a story and you're done. You know, you need those sometimes, I think. And I think she spent a lot of time on Homeland, and she may be burnt out on that whole series idea. Like that
Sure.
was the stint for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so
I can definitely see if she does get nominated. I can see why if she does get nominated. And same thing with Matthew and Reese. There may be nominations on both their parts. I wouldn't be surprised.
cool. Yeah, they're both super talented. He's been nominated multiple times for the Americans, I think. Um,
Okay.
so yeah,
I wasn't familiar with him at all in the past, but yeah, he did a good job in this.
he was with Kerry Russell in the Americans, which was about of basically a family of undercover Russian spies. I think it might even be a period piece. It might take place in the 80s. I'm not sure. Uh, I always meant to watch it and never did, but it's supposed to be really good. So, as we are running very long here, I think Andrew and I will really quick close out the show and talk about the latest episode of It, Welcome to Derry, where, spoiler alert, we see Pennywise the Clown for the first time, which is awesome. Um, but this one, we get to kind of dive a little further into the things that scare old Pennywise a little bit. And this one is the military thinks that they've got him cornered. They think they know how to trap him and use him, and they are wrong. So very wrong. Um, and uh, and we have some moments from some major characters in this one. Um, yeah, what'd you think?
I loved it as always. My heart broke a little bit, man. And I watched the after show, and maybe you didn't fall for it, but I certainly did. Our boy Maddie, dude. Our boy Maddie from the first episode, he was one of the children who succumbed to the F them kids. He shows up and I'm like, he seems like, you know, I don't want to spoil you, Lauren, like cover your ears if you're gonna watch this show. Thank you. Cover them. Or just turn off your audio. Dude, I was so hoping he was not fucking Pennywise, dude. He's effing Pennywise. And the thing is, the way he finally like shows up as Pennywise with the back of the head, like that. You can open your ears again. It's fine. You're good. You're good. But because I'm not gonna say his name. But when that happens, my heart was broken, and then I'm like, this sucks. So he really is. He's still F
Yeah.
them kids.
And it was such a cool transition though. Like the way they did it, it was so cool. Like to see him turn into Pennywise and you're just like, oh shit. Like
And
it,
then what a waste. I mean, I totally get why the major did what he did, but still, like that was a waste. Like really, dude? Like you're just gonna like your best friend over some stupid shit because you were too trigger happy?
well, it was
Oh,
almost his kid.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, This friend did the right thing. But homeboy, you need to. And then I also love how the after show said, yeah, he has no fear, but no, he does have fear. But his fear is based on love. Like
Hmm.
that's what he's afraid of.
Yep.
And maybe Pennywise figured that out. So and
Yep.
he clearly did, you know? So
Yeah, because the whole
anyway,
thing with the wife was dark in its own way.
so
But I
yeah,
mean, to be fair, he's down there. He's already seen his wife,
yes.
and he knows that's not real. There is no reason for his son to be down there. So when his son comes running around the corner, of course he would assume it's Pennywise at this point. Like, there's no way he wouldn't.
And he even told his boy, you see, but his boy knew I see him too. And
Yeah,
that's when he should have just been like, maybe I shouldn't pull the trigger.
yeah,
Anyhow,
uh,
but you know, it was cool seeing the girl who annoyed me so much with the glasses. Like she's now made a turn. I actually
yeah,
care for the
yeah,
character now because before I was just more like, yeah, she can die
yeah.
too.
You want to you want to kick that little girl in the head?
Yes.
Um,
So yeah, but that's I'll keep it short because I know we're at the end. But like that, I just feel like if you're not watching it, Welcome to Derry, you're missing out.
this was also the highest rated episode of the season,
Ooh,
at an 8.7. So um, definitely, and it felt like it. There's a lot going on in this episode, and it's very very tense. So I'm super excited for tomorrow night's
dude,
episode.
the breadcrumb when like you when terrible names, but anyway, the main girl, the brunette girl, is talking to the actress who she's been in a lot of things in the 90s and stuff. But anyway, the brunette actress,
Hmm.
and then her like husband shows up and he's like, "Where's my steak?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like better be cooked properly. Don't overcook it." You know, that's the total breadcrumb into why Homegirl would be stepping out on her
yep,
that
yep,
dude. And it's like I knew as soon as they parked far away, oh
yep,
yeah,
yep.
that's got to be the one. And because her fucking husband's a dick. But that'll be interesting to see how that gets figured out.
We also saw in this episode, didn't we see kind of Dick Halloran's
Oh, his
his box and
grandfather.
his grandfather his was his grandfather or his father? Grandfather.
I think it was grandfather.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you're right. I think you're right.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was a whole interesting thing too, to kind of get his background, and see once it's fake grandpa, right? Like he's sort of like a flashback, like but once that box is broken open, and then they talk more about it in the post show than they
Yeah.
do in the actual show, but that's going to be some bad
Something's
shit. Like that's
broken.
going to break Dick Halloran big
Yes.
time, which will ultimately lead him to leave the military and go be a friggin' cook in
Custodian. Oh,
yeah in a hotel that nobody's at for the winter. So yeah, really, really good stuff. The episode is really solid. The acting, of course, is amazing. The kids in the show are awesome. Yeah, and definitely worth watching, man. If you've seen the first two It movies, and arguably even if you haven't, if you just know who Pennywise is, this does
that's all I
not
need.
rely on those movies. If anything, those movies are improved because of the show, but you don't really need the movies to understand the show. So you could start with this and just take off and enjoy it. As
Is
long as you
that
like horror. Like if you do,
Any, would you say that this is any scarier or less scary than the films or about the same?
I'd say it's about the same. The different creators like it was it Cary Fukunawa? Is that the name? Cary I feel bad if I'm totally butchering the name, but uh
let me look.
different directors for sure. Like this is created by a,
Well,
a husband and wife
actually,
couple,
no,
the
I'm
Muschiettis.
seeing. Yeah, I'm seeing. The second film is directed by Andy Muschietti, and then the first film is also. Let me see. So it actually might be connect. Okay, okay. The screenplay for the first film is by Cary Fukunaga,
Oh, I got it right.
but
Yay.
yeah, yeah. It was directed by Andy, so it's all
Okay.
the same. Which reminds me, what you were saying earlier about how this improves the movie is the same way I feel like Penguin improves the
Oh, for
Batman.
sure. For sure.
So, because I'm now more in, I saw the first film, didn't see the second one, so I'm now want to go back and when this is done, I'm gonna go watch the two films.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Um, yeah, it definitely, and like I said, I mean, you could watch this if you have never seen those two films,
correct.
because the story is so well self-contained. The things that are Easter eggs aren't deal breakers, right? Like knowing that Dick Hallorann is in The Shining doesn't mean anything to the show, really, because it happens afterwards. Knowing that a couple of these kids are ultimately the parents of the kids in the It movies
Mm.
doesn't matter to the show, right? So, it's definitely kind of its own thing, even though it has, roots and teeth in the other one. So, um, definitely worth a watch. And obviously, it's getting better for this episode to be the highest rated one as we kind of careen towards the end of this thing, is really promising.
What is Stephen King saying about it? Have they asked
Good
him?
question.
I am pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that he's loving it. Um, he he hasn't. I know he wasn't really involved. I'm sure they had the opportunity to talk to him a little bit,
Well,
but
they needed some sort of permission, I'd assume, from him to release this in the first place.
limited. I mean, if the rights for the movies are with a studio, then the rights to the characters, I assume, are also there. So they could probably make whatever they want. But I'm sure he's always been very open about giving access to his rights. There was a time he called it his, I think he called it his dollar babies. He would give the rights to his books to any student filmmaker for like $1,
Mm.
so that they could make the film, because he wanted to push the arts. He wanted to push people to be more creative, and he felt like if his books were, um, you know, going to be successful, he would like to see people having the opportunity to do that, because historically there was a good chunk of the 80s where anytime somebody made a Stephen King movie, it was actually kind of crappy.
Right.
You're like, oh shit, they made a movie out of this. It's not going to be great. Um, but I mean, there's some winners in there. I mean, Carrie was a classic. I think Christine is an often overlooked horror film. Pet Cemetery was great. Um, Salem's Lot has always struggled to become a good movie. Um, The Shining was a great movie, but Stephen King hates The Shining, the movie.
What about the Dead Zone? That's a Stephen King one as well,
Yeah,
with
the
Christopher
movie was
Walken.
okay. It actually got
Yeah.
turned into a really decent TV series on TNT with Brat Pack Kid.
Oh, we are talking about the one who had the scandal.
No,
Oh,
no.
Anthony Michael Hall?
Anthony Michael Hall.
okay,
Yes,
got it.
there you go. Um, he
Go on.
played the same character that Chris Walken played in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, and that one was okay. Didn't wasn't popular, I don't think, but it was solid.
So I pulled it up. According to, I'm not gonna, I'll just say, according to what I'm reading from, King said, basically, he described it as a couple things. I'm
Total
scrolling.
dog shit.
Yeah.
Um,
The worst thing ever.
Yeah.
He says, I like Welcome to Derry a lot, King 78 told. Actually, I can say it exclusively told the Post. Some people get weird about the New York Post. There are plenty of horrors and lots of surreal visuals. There's a supermarket scare that sticks in my mind, complete with pickle jars. And of course, that's
Hmm.
from episode 2. He went on to say, Andy Muschietti has a touch of genius when it comes to scares. Folks are going to see some scenes in their nightmares. He then continues, when Pennywise finally appears, he's still scary as hell. So I think that Stephen King probably saw the whole thing, and I
Yeah.
think he's given it his blessing.
Yeah. And like I said, he very much respects most filmmakers working on his stuff. Like I said, with The Shining, he hated what Kubrick did, like loathes that film.
Wow.
And one thing that was super fascinating, and because of course it was Mike Flanagan, when they did Doctor Sleep, which is the book sequel to The Shining, they managed to take that movie and somehow make it a sequel to both the original book and the movie. Like they were
I
able to
love that.
merge some issues
That's
and made it a
cool.
great sequel, because Flanagan is a genius and loves
Yes.
Stephen King's work and is very respectful of it. So, and I think that's why the Muschiettis did such a great job with this. Is they are fans of the work. They're not just looking for a paycheck from this thing. Like they actually love the product they're putting on the paper, and what they're working from, and that makes a big difference. So Cool. Well, I actually feel like we got a lot of stuff that is worth watching from this one. So we started strong, had some good stuff, and then finished strong. So
That's
uh,
relevant.
yeah, very relevant. I think everything, almost everything, was within the last couple week or two at the most. So pretty relevant there too. So cool. Well, with that, I will say thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.